This is the Chroma Console multi-effects pedal by Hologram Electronics, and this is my first pedal ever. It's a guitar pedal, you know what I'm saying? I never really thought of using it in the producer world, but producers have been doing this for quite some time now. But I gotta hand it to Hologram Electronics because their marketing is on point. One of their videos popped up in my recommended feed on YouTube, and I was like, that looks cool. And then they dropped a black one, and I was like, that looks really cool. You guys know I'm a sucker for aesthetics. So I copped it immediately, but I still didn't really know exactly how I want to utilize this in my workflow. So I hit up my homie Datsunn, who has it and swears by it, to put me on, to basically show me how he uses it.
Man, what's good, G?
I just got the Chroma Console, blacked out edition.
I saw, man.
Just wanted to give you a call to see if you could just like show me a bit of how you route it and how you use it in your creative workflow.
Yeah, bro, 100%, man. First of all, this thing is a beast.
So basically how I have it routed and how I plan to route it is just to use my little gear with it. You know, the OP1, the OPXY, the Orchid, the high chord, all this little desk stuff is what I plan on using this with. And to do that, I have the TX6. If you don't know what the TX6 is, it's a really expensive mixer by Teenage Engineering, but it has 6 inputs, super tiny, super cool. And I have the Orchid and the high chord plugged into that right now. And then I have that routed to the inputs on the Chroma Console, and then I have the outputs of the Chroma Console into my RME interface. So that is how I'm able to get the sound into Ableton to record stuff, or just, you know, through my monitors. For me, that's a pretty simple setup. I like it, but the way Datsunn has it set up is actually a lot more fire. For my fellow producers who know nothing about pedals, let me break down what this is, what it does. So pretty much it's a multi-effects pedal. Think of like, I don't know, like a guitar rig or like a RC20, where you just have a bunch of different things. So here's the sound right now without. Now let's throw some drive. There's also knobs up here to adjust like sensitivity, rate, time, all that kind of stuff. And then we got movement. So this is doubler, tremolo. So diffusion, this is like, has like delay and reverb and stuff. I love that one. And then we have reverse, which is also very cool. And then we have texture, where you get more into the lo-fi vibes. That's how you really get some interesting lo-fi textures. It can get really advanced, but the beauty of it being like this little hardware analog type of device is there's no numbers or anything. Like, it's just you twist some knobs and you get interesting stuff happening. But Datsunn took it to the next level.
The way I've got it set up in my session is as an external audio effect in Ableton. What that allows me to do is I can put anything on it. So like if I want those effects on a VST instrument or on drums or on a vocal, I can send that audio signal to my chain of pedals and treat it like, you know, these VST effects almost. And the beauty with the Chroma Console is that it's almost like a set of 20 different VST effects, you know, in a way. Like, and I shouldn't say 20, it's like 4, because diffusion is like your delays, you know what I mean? And then you have your character for fuzz and movement for, what is it, like flanger, chorus, phaser, that kind of modulation. And then texture is like your, I call it like the analog RC20, you know? It's kind of does that without adding like the vinyl effects and stuff like that. But in an Ableton session, it's a little bit tricky of a setup because you do need multiple ins and outs on your interface. The way I have it routed is I have a stereo channel that sends out of my RME interface, which is for me channel 5 and 6. And that signal is going out of the RME in through my pedal chains, and out of that back into the interface. It creates this sort of like loop that happens, and that loop allows me to run it as an external audio effect. So in Ableton, I bring the external audio effect rack in, and it asks me where I want the audio to, and that's where I set it to 5.6, which is my selected output channels to send to the pedals. And now it asks me audio from, which it's like, where do you want to hear the signal back from, which is channel 1, 2. So now that I have this external audio effect rack, I can put it on any channel, literally, and anything is being sent to these pedals now.
If you're like me and need a serious visualization of the routing into Ableton, I got you. So I have my RME UCX2 right here, and if you turn it around, this gold, I have 3 outputs, I believe. So this gold one right here, that's my actual monitors, and this one right here is 5 and 6. I'm just following Datsunn, and this is what I have routed into the inputs of the Chroma Console. You feel me? So the output from the RME is in the input of the Chroma Console, okay? I did it a little too complex because I don't have any extra TRS cables. These are the output. It is currently plugged into my TX6, and the output of the TX6 is using another one of these split cables into the front of the RME, which is an input 3 and 4. If you're following me, you don't need this step. Just get 2 more TRS cables, which is what I'm gonna do, and then that can go from your output directly into the input of your interface. And then I can switch to Ableton to show you. You wanna add external audio effect. This is exactly what he did. And then remember, I have 5 and 6 as my output. And then for the input, I have 3 and 4, which is the input on the front that I showed you. And now I can show you how it sounds. I got this little loop from my MIDI pack I dropped a few weeks ago. Turn it on. So now I can mess with it as much as I want.
Something I use it heavily on is my OP1 field, because like if I just play the raw sound of what this keyboard is, which like that's already a dope sound, I would go in and like say I wanted to just add some of that tape warble and like character, meaning like some drive and some fuzz, or this cascade delay is crazy. I don't know why it's crazy. That one in Collage. I'll put on Collage because it does some weird like glitchier stuff. Here, let me turn it off to hear it. So that's raw, but if I turn it on now, you know, we're like taken to space, dude. Like it creates a fully different sound that allows you to kind of shape it more. It's not so like static. It adds that extra bit of special sauce that like, you know, you're not just using stock sounds out of the OP1 or out of whatever, if it's a VST or a piano, like, okay, and then let me turn these pedals on to see. No, I mean, like, that's crazy. It probably sounds weird on the phone, but it's like, it's a different, bro, this is like surfing through presets, except you're shaping that sound however you want. I use the Microcosm a lot too, and I know we're talking the Chroma Console here, but the Microcosm is another one that's like, does some really cool, you know, sort of like grain delays, but also like glides, these like micro loops and weird things that, again, you might not find. Let me see if I can get it. Like you're creating some like really beautiful, airy, sort of like ethereal. And like, without that, boring.
No, yeah, that's crazy.
How I plan on recording that stuff is I'll just hit resample and then I'll just hit record. And now you can do stuff like this. That's honestly pretty sick. Like Datsunn has really put me on. Remember earlier I was like, oh, I'm gonna have my small things on my desk. What's the point of that? I could plug in the OP1, whatever I want. This could be running at all times. This is the way.
The nice thing about having the audio effect rack is that, like, if I'm recording, for example, the OP1 and I want to record the pedals signal as well, I just have two audio tracks. I have the one that has the OP1, which is what I'm sending to the pedals. If I just want to record it, I'm going to solo both of these. I'm just recording both signals, and it's almost like recording the dry and wet, which will give you the option after to be like, so what we're hearing is just the affected signal. But say I stop this now in Ableton, I can now go back and let me shut the pedals off and my external audio effect, and then now I just have the OP1 signal and then an audio track that has the affected signal. I'm big on just like committing. I honestly often just end up recording the audio in, and I'm almost treating it like the way you're using it. There's no going back. You're like, well, the signal is going through the pedal. But in this instance, when you have the ability to, you can just record both and be totally fine to have like dry and wet.
I've actually played around using this on drums, and that sounds even more fire. I actually use this a lot in the making of my new drum kit, L.Dre drum kit volume 7. The 7th iteration of my L.Dre drum kit series is out now. I really tried to keep my general lo-fi aesthetic, but I realized that a lot of people use my sounds in all type of genres like R&B and more just like chill hop vibes. So I leaned into that while keeping my aesthetic. Go try it out. There's a link in the description to try out some loops for free. So here's a little taste. Cop the new drum kit if you can. It helps the channel. It helps me out immensely. You don't even understand. So appreciate you. So yeah, shout out to Datsunn for helping me out. Like, he really kind of shifted my perspective on a few things. I'm really excited about this, but I know there is like a burning question a lot of you guys might have for me in the comments, and that is, why, bro? Why even use it as an external audio effect in Ableton when I could just use, I don't know, Guitar Rig or, you know, any multi-effects plugin could probably do something similar? The answer is vibes, bro. Vibes. Can it just be that simple? Can we all just agree that there is something about knobs? Like, let's be for real. There's a reason why people still use analog gear. There's a reason why I use this polybrute back there or different synths and stuff like that. For the vibes, you guys. Let's stop trying to make everything such a big deal and so serious. Sometimes people just have different ways to get creative and make stuff sound different. Everybody has all the plugins. Not that many people have the Chroma Console, not in matte black. This is limited edition. So this video isn't to convince any of you guys to go out and buy pedals or anything like that, but for the people like me who are just kind of like, not against it, but just hesitant to pick one up because it seemed overly complicated and kind of pointless, like, I see it now. I see the vision, and you might see it too if you give it a chance. I might even be interested in the Microcosm. Datsunn was raving about it, so I don't know if they're sold out in the black though. Hologram, if you're watching this and you just so happen to have any black Microcosms left, hook your boy up. We'll do a part 2 to this video with it. Drop a comment below if you have any pedals or if you're interested in using a pedal after watching this video. I'm a table, don't let anybody tell you what you can or cannot be. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.